Hi, I'm Jason Shum and I'm an animator in the games industry. I've recently created a set of video tutorials that is 38 hours of lectures and demos, and I go through how I animate combat, walks and runs, hit reactions and deaths, traversals and jumps. And I go from idea, first pass stage, all the way to final polish animation. This is a quick video on some workflow tips for planning animation. Hopefully you'll find some of these tips useful. I get more into these methods in my longer tutorials, and you can find them along with feedback review classes that I teach to animators at jasonshum.com or the Gumroad link here. Alright, thanks for watching and let's go. Okay, workflow tips for planning animation. When I first start out, I basically have no filter, right? I go wide with my search. I'm just looking for anything that inspires me or appeals to me in what I'm trying to do in my animation. Everyone kind of has their own places to go, but the general places I go is same as everyone else: YouTube, Vimeo. I love Pinterest for poses, and drawing thumbnails just to kind of like flesh out what's in your head. And shooting video reference is huge for me. Like I said, you're kind of, your net is going wide on this one, and you're pulling poses, energy, styles, colors, whatever you want to kind of inspire you as you keep going on this. The next step is kind of when you've put it all together, that's when you start to filter it down, and you're just trying to decide what kind of style, energy, mood you're going for more specifically, right? Like you like this pose, you like this particular move from a fight scene from a movie, you like this particular animation from a video game, and you're kind of like taking it all together. At least for me, I'm putting it all together and I'm mixing it up and trying to kind of make it my own in a way. Right? So everyone has their own process. This disclaimer here is that this is just my workflow. It seems to work for me, tends to work for me, especially lately. And the three main things that I kind of want to bring up in this video: shooting video reference. It's kind of a no-brainer with a lot of people. But editing the timing and image plane is something that I've started to do a lot with pretty good success for certain animations. And 2D thumbnails, obviously. I'll take it into software from time to time, but I generally will kind of stick in Maya and go the way of the grease pencil, just because I'm not getting too complex with it. And this is something that I've started to do recently too, which is animate a bouncing ball to determine timing and energy. Instead of moving all these controls around and trying to focus on posing first, I will try to focus on the energy, the style that I want, and just moving a bouncing ball, one control, helps me. It kind of informs me on that. So let's actually look at some examples here. It's time for me to pull out some embarrassing reference of myself, and this is me trying to do a combat combo, 4-hit combo, and believe it or not, this is the best take I got. And I like to do a front and side view, and I'm not particularly moving very fast or very energetic or very good even, but I have a plan. My plan is to take this image plane, or take this video, bring it into an image plane, and actually edit the timing in my image plane. So by default in Maya, it's basically like this, your frame offset. And frame offset is basically, offsetting the video. But if you actually animate the frame offset, you can actually animate the video. So when there's nothing on it, it just looks like me just kind of doing my regular timing. But you can see what I've done here is I've actually started to key it. So like when I move these keys around, these are my keys, like just things that I've set. I can speed up or slow down the video. Okay, and what that means is, for me, is I'm gonna like really crunch. I'm gonna stretch out my holds here, but I'm really gonna tighten up the hits like over one frame, because I was kind of going for a more stylistic look. And you can see you can kind of even see that this is my holds and these are my hits. Hold, hit, And what I end up with is something more hyperreal, where I'm really kind of going faster and I'm holding a little bit more in certain parts. Okay, so just as like a comparison, I could show this. The original one on the left, right, is me moving super slow, and the one on the right is an edited timing. And I do this a lot when especially when I'm shooting reference and I'm trying to, it's not realistic, I'm trying to go for a hyper real type look. It really informs my final animation. So when I unhide my actual animation, you can see that my timing stayed fairly consistent with how I was editing the image plane, because that editing the image plane step is really important for me. Is like that's when I can really see it start to come alive, even though it's like mundane reference like me. When I speed it up, I all of a sudden look more athletic than or energetic than I was, and that informs my final animation here. So another example of that is I did a this is me just acting out a hit reaction in death, and these are for the tutorials that I put out. But I thought at the time that I was actually acting pretty good and pretty energetic, but even with this, like I can't bring this timing into animation and have it feel particularly great, especially if I'm trying to push the time. I'm trying to get out of the realistic area and more hyper real. So same kind of thing, like I'll go in and edit my image plane so that my hits, you know how fast these are moving here, they feel faster, and then it's just regular timing when it's flat there, but then this is a huge hit that is moving really fast. Right? So I end up with something like this that just feels cooler to me. It's kind of the bottom line there. So if I were to compare it again, all of a sudden my regular reference just looks really slow and boring, to be honest. So the one on the right, I use that to again inform me of what I want to do in my animation. And you know, I try to stick to that timing, and no one says you have to stick to this timing that you added image plane. If it's still not working for you, obviously that's what animation is for. You once you get in there, you start to go what your feedback and feeling is going off of. But for me, this is the style and speed that I wanted and energy that I wanted of it. So let's talk about the final 2 points here, the thumbnails and the bouncing ball. I have an example of that too, which is this one. This is an animation that I wanted to be really energetic and really stylish and really push the timing of what is possible, right? And there's no way I could do this. There's no way I can even come close to doing this. And yeah, I could definitely, when I was doing my first step of gathering reference, I was looking up parkour, mountain climbing, wall climbing, just trampoline jumping, like all kinds of things that would get me that certain type of energy and certain type of posing. And that really helped me out a lot. But something that helps me out a lot too when I'm doing things like this where I just cannot even come close to acting it out is that if I hide Bony Rig here, I actually just take a ball and I spend less than 10 minutes. It's really just 10 minutes of just bouncing it around and trying to get that timing and that energy and will it feel good? And the thing is, if it feels good in a bouncing ball, then you should be able to carry that energy through to a full-blown character and potentially even plus it up even more because you have these cool poses you can do for your character. Now, once I had done this and I knew that I felt more confident that I could proceed with what I had after doing this bouncing ball. And that kind of leads me to thumbnails, right? And I am self-admittedly a terrible artist. And as you can see by these stick figures here, but I don't really care. Like, I could get better as I keep doing it potentially, but even still, if you just do it once in a while, I don't, you shouldn't have something like this hinder you from trying to communicate what your idea is to other people, right? And this not just doesn't only help inform myself, but it helps inform my team, my lead, and my client, whoever it is, that it's like, okay, this is what I'm thinking about, and giving them some context so they can provide feedback and know where you're headed, right? So stick figures and all, still helpful. Now, when I go back to unhiding the bony rig, you can see that I generally followed my timing of the bouncing ball, even the posing of my stick figure in a way. I deviated, obviously, that always happens when you final your animation. But without the ball and the grease pencil, it just would have taken me longer, I think. Probably would have ended up in the same place, potentially, maybe with less energy and probably iterating on certain things. So the more you can iterate early on, the better it is, I think, for your final animation. And that's kind of the whole point of this right now, which is just kind of sharing some process and workflow tips, because it's really just how can you be more efficient and how can you be more communicative in your ideas early on, right? I mean, it's all living in your head. You need to find ways to bring it out in a rough stage without taking it all the way to like posing the character out on keys, spending like a day, 2 or 3, because in games, like, that's a big turnaround, right? And the earlier you can communicate, the more people know what's going on with you, and getting buy-off on the idea and getting feedback on the idea too. So I hope that all these some of these tips were helpful. Yeah, thanks.